Hello, love, and welcome back. I had fully intended to put these empowerment sessions on more of a schedule, but because we work with spirit, we work with energy, I think it's just going to be as I'm called. So we are going to get a look at the overall energy. We're going to see what is coming up in the collective to be healed and transmuted at this time. We're going to see what our awareness is being brought to, what is the action that we can take, and what are some of the shadow secrets, deeper parts of our psyche that we are being called to address. And then we'll see if there's any tips, tools, tricks, techniques that I can help you with addressing some of these things. So let's start off by getting an overall energy. What is coming up in the collective to be healed and transmuted at this time? We have Page of Cup and Three of Cups. So there is this very dreamy energy, and it has to do, there's a lot of energy there. It has to do with aligning with SoulTribe, soul family, soulmates, and coming into that inner unity so that we can have that outer unity, so that we can have those relationships that fuel and feed who we are on that soul level, on that emotional level. And we are heavily in our head about this. We are daydreaming about this. We are calling in that soul tribe now. We have felt that lack of reciprocity and that genuine connection when it comes to our core relationships, and we're really starting to feel that shift, and we have been called to release those relationships that do not serve who we are now and where we are going, those relationships that do not serve our healing, our growth, our expansion. And actually this is something that's kind of been on my mind all morning as well, is these codependent relationships that we have in those dynamics and how they play out, especially in terms of our parents and how we engage with our parents, and how that foundational relationship really sets the tone for how we come to all of our other relationships as we grow and we change, right? And those dynamics and how those dynamics play out when we're younger can greatly impact not only the types of people and experiences that we allow into our life, but also how we show up in those relationships, right? We're all very aware of the attachment styles. We may or may not know what ours is, or, as we heal, that can change. But those attachment styles and that attachment really kind of cascades into the other types of relationships and the dynamics and the experiences that we have with other people. Because if your attachment styles are at odds, there's going to be a lot of conflict, a lot of, you're not going to see eye to eye because your traumas are at odds. But also on the opposite side, that being at odds is also super magnetic. It's super charged. So that's why we see things that are considered trauma bonds. But where this is toxic is when we engage in codependency and those codependent relationships to have those needs met through negative means, versus having that conscious awareness and being like, I'm connecting with you because we share the same trauma, we're sharing, we're engaging, we're moving through this together, versus just triggering each other, right? And there's a difference there. And as you begin to heal and as you begin to grow, you start to see yourself in these dynamics. You start to choose better for yourself. You start to see how you're showing up and how you get triggered. And that's really what we talk about here is, what's being triggered, why is it being triggered? Because everything outside of ourselves is a mirror, right? Everything we experience is to mirror back at us what is going on, so that we can step further and deeper into our own healing. And as a twin flame, that is tenfold for me. So that is where is being, all right, yeah. So the theme is releasing these look at those relationships, look at those emotional ties. These are not just going to be relationships, but like people, places, things, experiences, literally everything in your life where you are giving energy, right? Any place where you are giving, overgiving, it's going to all be tied back to those themes. Again, something that's been looping through my head this morning, because let's take, for example, like a parent-child dynamic. One that's super common is a parent who has emotional needs and are not getting met by their partner, or in healthy adult connections, they will go to their children for that emotional need on a level that is not appropriate, right? And that can kind of play out a lot of different ways. At the worst of it, it can play out in abuse dynamics, and then at the lower end of the scale, it's just not having age-appropriate conversations, right? So there's a very big spectrum there, and there's going to be a lot of things that interplay with that as well, like your own values, belief systems, culture. So there's a lot there. But when a parent is so heavily reliant on a child for those emotional needs to get met, that child doesn't have the ability to trust their own emotions, because usually they're being shut down because the parent wants their needs to be met, right? Because the parent is experiencing both current trauma and past trauma from their own childhood. They're experiencing a current trauma because their needs are they're experiencing neglect from their partner and their community. So they're seeking that connection, and they're abusing literally the power dynamic between the adult and the child, which is something super common. It's something that, is a cycle that is very hard to break, and it's a cycle that we're kind of just perpetually in. And being able to have that emotional literacy for yourself as an adult is super important, because then you can be more aware of, what's going on with you, and learn how to give those emotional needs for yourself. And then also seeking out, age appropriate outlets to have those needs met, or, going to your partner, whatever the dynamics are, and being like, hey, this is what I'm going through. I feel neglected. Having those open and honest conversations, and dealing with, what's under the surface, what's being triggered for me, because, right, that you're the adult, that's your role. And then the child ends up growing up not being able to trust what they feel, not being able to open up and have that sense of safety, first within themselves, within other relationships. And then something else that we tend to see with these patterns is like what they call Peter Pan syndrome, kind of. And it's where the child is usually unable to have healthy relationships within their own life, whether it's friendships or partnerships of their own, because they can't open up, they don't feel safe, they don't know how to give and take in a healthy way. They usually overgive, self-sabotage, self-reject, and then depending on, how severe that parent-child relationship is, there can be codependency there, in terms of that parent can continue to sabotage the child's relationships so that they aren't able to fully give. They're not able to fully show up because that parent-child relationship is so codependent. So that person isn't showing up for their partner, and the cycle continues, right? That cycle of neglect. Because if that person is taking care of their parent and not their partner, we see the cycle. And it takes somebody along the line to be like, no, I'm not perpetuating this cycle. You're an adult, you can take care of your needs. I need to take care of myself, and I need to be in my partnership. I need to be a parent myself. It's really takes that individual, and we're seeing this especially with the millennial generation. We are the ones who are stepping up and breaking these cycles. We see it, and we're like, no, we're done. Nope, wrong card. We're done. Because we want this 10 of Pentacles. We want healthy families. We want to be healthy individuals. We want to start a whole new cycle. We want to start a new legacy, We don't want to be a part of anything that came before us. We see the patterns. We see how things have gotten swept under the rug, and we don't want anything to do with it. We have this calling to create this happiness, to create this joy, to create interdependence and openness and acceptance and honesty and like all of these really big themes. But this only comes about by letting go, right? It takes us doing that hard work to really looking at ourselves and looking at the shadows and the demons and understanding that those parts of ourselves that we struggle with are really just those trauma experiences playing out. If you really want to look at just anything that's heavy and negative that you're moving through, what you have to do is you really have to tear it apart and get to the core of what that trauma is. And it's going to be such a layered thing. If you know what the original trauma was, that's super helpful. But a lot of the times, if it happened in early childhood, we might not have the cognitive recognition of that. But our body knows, our energy knows, and we feel that. That's why we're being triggered, which is something I talk about in my other workshops in my movement class. Like, that's why we use movement to move through it. We might not consciously have that awareness of it. We can try and go through those, systematic things and like break it down. We can try and pull back the layers, but ultimately on a conscious level, we might not have that memory. For myself, I lived in a state of disassociation most of my life. I literally have no memory. My brother will tell me things that I have absolutely no recollection of, right? But my body feels it, right? When my brother tells me stories about what happened, I can feel that. My body remembers when he's telling me. My body remembers. And when I have other experiences and I feel that same feeling, I know what's being triggered, right? And that's kind of a beautiful thing of siblings, whether they're older or younger, is even though you were in the same household and had similar experiences, how you experience it, vastly different. So if you do have siblings, it might be very helpful to have an open, honest conversation about, your experience. Ask them questions about their experience. Ask about, their dynamic with your parents and your family and things like that. Things that you are unsure of. Have those open, honest discussions, because siblings and other family members can be very insightful. Even having those conversations with your parents, I've had to have those conversations, and they're not easy. They're very hard. And even if your parent is unwilling to change, you really don't need them to. It's not about them, it's about you. But having that awareness and kind of getting their perspective will help you kind of gain some understanding, some direction, and it will give you a kind of sense of peace, because you'll be able to take action, to choose a direction for yourself. Knight of Cups. So there is a very heartfelt sense of communication, outpouring that is going to happen here. There is something here. Same with this Page of Cups. Like, there is a lot of emotional energy on this table, and a lot to do with family, a lot to do with moving forward. Right? We're daydreaming. We're thinking about the things that we want for ourselves, how we're building it. So you or someone else is going to be coming in, I love this, with a heartfelt message here. Guard down with an offering to be like, hey, this is where I am. That vulnerability, that's something I've been talking about on my Instagram all week. That vulnerability, allow yourself that space to be vulnerable and to share and to be truthful about the light and the dark. Because when you have that honesty, you can say, hey, this is where I've been. This is where I want to go, but this is where I am now. Can you support, this spectrum of who I am? Can you support who I am now and me coming to you in this vulnerable state, asking for your help, or, making this offering of, I, would love to move towards this. I would love to have you at my table, or have you be a part of my community, have you be a part of my family, be my person, have a family, whatever that dynamic is, right? This is my past. This is what I'm letting go. This is what I'm moving through. this is how it shows up for me. These are my traumas. These are the ways that I self-sabotage. This is the way that, addictive tendency shows up for me. Whatever that is, whatever that darkness is, having that open conversation about what you're working through and where you want to go, right? I'm feeling like this is the action piece. This is where we are shifting to. We have this awareness, we have this call to move forward, to end these cycles, but we don't want to do it alone. It is very hurtful when you're trying to be vulnerable and your family doesn't accept you. I could do a whole segment on that. I really could. I'm going to screenshot that so I can come back to it. But yeah, it is. And that's why finding community, building community around yourself, it takes time, honestly. And when you're going through the healing journey, it gets very lonely, right? And that's what we're feeling that loneliness. We don't want to do this alone. And this is a very big theme that's coming up even in my own TwinFlame journey, is like doing a reflection back on, how we've come together and got apart, and come together and got apart, and why that is. And I realized that what we keep doing is, the coming back together is because we don't want to do this journey alone. Whether we're together or not in like a 3D sense really doesn't matter. It's about the spiritual journey. It's about that healing journey, right? As a twin flame and, as humans in general, we are trying to ascend. We're trying to heal past these cycles. So us calling each other in is very much about healing these cycles, about giving each other this sense of safety and the space to move through this in a space of unconditional love, because really that's what's lacking, right? When it comes down to core traumas, it's like lack of love, right? In our innate nature, we want love. We want to give love. And I've always said from a very young age, my biggest calling is to be and give unconditional love and acceptance, right? But unconditional love and acceptance is not unconditional tolerance. So be very careful of that line. You have to have your own boundaries. You have to know when to walk away and when to come back, when alignment is back or not. And that all is dependent upon other people doing their work, and that has absolutely nothing to do with you. So let's see, what piece of guidance or advice would Spirit like us to have at this time about healing and closing out this cycle? Interesting. Knight of Wands. So this is kind of twofold. We have to take action here and now to do this, because our awareness has now been brought to this. That's why you're here, to either affirm that what you already know because you're resonating with it, you're here, or to bring your awareness to this so that you can take that action, right? And that action is letting go and having that open conversation, whether it's with yourself, whether it's with your person, whether it's with people in your community, whether it's, asking a therapist or a coach for help, whatever that is, right? Putting yourself in that vulnerability to ask for the help that you need and to seek what you want, which is community, which is help, which is support to move through this. To really stand and be who you are, to own who you are in all of the ways, right? Your darkness can still dance and play in the light as long as you have an awareness of what it's doing and how it's playing out. You can utilize it and put it to a beneficial use in a kind of way when you know what it is and how it shows up, right? So the other thing here with the Knight of Wands is this energy is so fast that usually it isn't stable. So that is another thing that we want to be aware of, is the action that we're taking. Is it coming from a place of consciousness? Is it coming from a place of stability? Is it going to last, right? We want a hearth. We don't want a bonfire. A bonfire burns out quickly. We want to be feeding and fueling our growth and our healing consistently. We don't want to overdo it. We don't want to just throw everything on the fire, have it go up in smoke, because then we're going to just be right back in the loop, in the cycle, because we really didn't take the time to feed it the way it needs to be fed. So take a look at, how that contrasting energy may be playing out for you. I didn't even ask a question, but yeah, we are in the midst of a death and rebirth cycle. This is a major karmic family cycle that we are breaking. Whether it's you individually, you as a partnership, however that resonates, right? It's about transmuting that darkness, that light, and that awareness, and taking action and creating healthy new patterns, creating healthy new families and healthy new communities, right? But it always starts first and foremost with yourself. You do not have control over anything or anyone outside of yourself. You only have control over your being, your healing, how you show up. Everything outside of yourself is just a reflection to, put that mirror back on you and remind you of what it is that you're working through. What you see outside of yourself is your perception of yourself. And that's really hard, right? So take a look at those narratives and those judgments that are coming up. Don't identify with them. They are not you. They are simply patterns that have been impressed upon you. And you have to sift through those and really evaluate them. And again, pick and choose and let go, right? Keep what works, keep what's authentic, keep what is true to you, what's true to your heart and your soul, and let go of the rest. All right, let's see. Action, we did awareness. How is this current, I'm putting you back, but I'll come back around to that one. How, I would like, those are for me. I would like to finish my question, please, Spirit. How is this current dynamic playing out? All right, I hear the message. I will take all the cards. It's releasing. They're just going to keep yelling at me. It's releasing this. It's releasing this pattern, right? Knowing that we have that choice to let it go, to call back our energy, call back our power from all the places, times, circumstances that we felt powerless. We can call back our energy and let go of the pain, let go of the trauma. Because, again, we're calling in soul family, we're calling in commitment, we're calling in ascension. We want it so bad. This fiery energy in our solar plexus and our sacral and our root is so apparent. We want to have these healthy new cycles. We want to heal our inner children. We want to have healthy new families. We want to have children who have a more healthy emotional experience than what we had. We want them to have that emotional vulnerability and intelligence and all of those things. That's the number one thing I hear people ask is like, how do I teach my child emotional intelligence when I don't have it myself? And that's the thing, right? And that's why I took a step back from teaching kids, and I'm like, let me go back to teaching adults and showing those who, are trying to do their healing for their families how to do that. Because it starts with you, right? It always starts with you. You want this ascension. You want this expansion. You want this growth. And you're calling it in so heavy. I can feel it. My heart chakra right now is so expansive. I can feel the calling in and the putting out. We want reciprocal energy. We want that happily ever after. We want to start this new legacy. We want to start it yesterday, right? But we also know that there's work that has to be done. We're aware of that, but I think that we're at a point where we're not sitting in the darkness of that anymore. I think we're actually very willingly present, I feel this for myself, where we are in this journey. That was a confirmation, by the way, if you heard that. We are so present in this journey. We are here now. We see the steps that we need to take to get here. And we are okay with that. We have that sense of re-empowerment saying, okay, I know where I've been. I see where I am. I see where I want to go, and I see the steps that I need to take to get there. And that in itself is an empowering thing to get to that point. So if that resonates and you're there, I am so proud of you. Because personally, that's where I'm sitting, and it is phenomenal. And it takes letting go of a lot of the heaviness. It takes letting go of the self-sabotaging behaviors, addictions, and codependencies. To have that clarity, to pull the wool from your eyes and take that ownership and say, if I want change, I have to be it. Right? So, okay. I was going to ask for an empowering message, and that's what they gave me. Are you ready? Whew. Okay. I promise not to cry. 9 and 10 of Cups and Hermit. You are being called to appreciate this time and the space of your solitude and your silence and your healing. Because soon, very soon, you are at this precipice. You will see that everything that you are calling in, your joy, your abundance, your holistic satisfaction, your sense of personal empowerment is coming in for you. This love, the family, the legacy, and the abundance are all coming in for you. There is so much emotional energy. We are so in our heart right now, and that is such a beautiful thing to see that as a collective we have shifted into our heart space. The longest journey is from the head to the heart, right? And the masculine journey itself is back to heart. So hard, right? But when you can stay in that embodiment of love, when you can keep that end game in focus, right? You don't need to know how you're going to get there, because we're taking that step each and every way. It's not a path that is laid out before us. We get here by taking one step at a time, right? Where's my hierophant? It's one step at a time. So to get here, we have to know that it is meant for us because it sits on our heart. It has always been destined for us, but it's a choice, right? Again, fate is what happens for us, and destiny is what we choose. This may be laying out for you, this may be offered to you from the universe and God, but you still have to choose it. You still have to take that action and choose your happiness, choose your joy. So if this is something that you truly want in your heart and your soul, and you want to move towards it, you want to heal these codependent behaviors and cycles and all of this, you want to have that healthy relationship and the healthy family and set up a new cycle in motion, a healthy cycle, choose it. Choose your healing. Choose to be vulnerable with whoever it is that you know that you need to go be vulnerable with, and have this open conversation about, where you are and where you want to get to and how you're getting there, where you are on your healing journey, because that is what you're calling in. You are calling in the support and the love and the acceptance and the people who are going to be a part of your healing. And that is such a beautiful thing, because you do not have to do this journey alone. And I am here to tell you that. I am here to hold space for that. You don't have to do it alone. I am here sharing my story. I had that awareness come to me recently that, my twin is in my life so that we can do this journey together, so that we don't feel alone, so that we can ascend. And the same applies to you. There is somebody that already exists within your realm, within your community, in some way, shape, or form. It may be friends, it may be family, it may be a colleague, it may be a mentor, it may be a therapist, it may be a coach, it may be somebody, whoever it is, that's for you to determine. But there is somebody or multiple people out there who are a part of your soul tribe, who are here to support your healing and remind you that you are not alone. This could also be spirits, guides, guardians, right? Depending on, your own personal journey, your own personal beliefs. However that resonates for you, whatever came to mind, that's what it is. Okay? So thank you so much for joining me today. If you would like a personal reading, please do reach out to me privately and we will get that done for you. I'm going to keep from doing announcements in here. So best of luck with your healing journey. If you need any guidance or support in moving forward from where you are, please do let me know. I have all kinds of tips, tools, and resources for you that I would love to share. Take care.